This is the media diet pyramid that I invented. At the bottom we have the healthy media, and at the top we've got the junk media. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to run down and explain sort of why. I'll go through each of the types of media that are written on the left hand side and sort of explain why I put them in that category. I think we'll start with the junk media at the top, and then we'll go down to the healthy media down towards the bottom. Mobile games I've obviously put in junk media. Number one, they're a complete waste of time. You could go on all day about how, they improve your memory, or they're just any kind of positive benefit that they have is minuscule. And basically they're a waste of time. Many of them are highly addictive. The goal of a mobile game is mostly to get you to, usually to have you make in-app purchases. That's normally what happens, is they want you to try and they steer you towards the shop in the game where you make in-app purchases, and they'll give you gold coins or something that you can then buy, and then just like Candy Crush or many of the other, Clash of Clans I think is another mobile game. Yeah, it's just there to addict you and make money. And yeah, like I said, Candy Crush in particular, I wrote a whole blog about this. Candy Crush is highly addictive, giving you dopamine hits and whatnot. So yeah, really, mobile games are pretty much always junk media that should be avoided. I've got funny cat videos right here. Now, I was putting this in junk media because it was essentially a waste of time. I did rethink that. I don't know if it's particularly bad to watch funny cat videos. I think maybe could have gotten this one wrong. This could have gone in maybe the column below. It doesn't really cause much harm. It is a bit of a waste of time, but of course you're laughing and it's funny. So I think I would change this and put it on the purple column below this one, to be honest. Then we have reality TV. Reality TV is most certainly junk media. Just like all the other ones, there's no real positive benefit from watching reality TV that I can think of. Sure, maybe you'll learn something from some of the characters you're watching, maybe, but not really. I mean, what you learn mostly from characters on reality TV is that sort of diva behavior and attention seeking is what it takes to get successful. That's the underlying tone of reality TV, is that if you want to be successful, then just be sassy and just seek as much attention as possible, and then you'll get on TV. But again, most of these reality TV sites disappear. Whenever you see Big Brother, they disappear quite quickly. So don't role model yourself after those. So for that reason, because it can really mess up your idea of how success works, I put it in junk media. And you got advertising. So advertising is there obviously just to make you buy things. Pretty much always to try and take money out of your pocket, and advertising will have many effects on you. They can have the effect of negative body image on you. They can they'll make you feel, when you're exposed to a lot of advertising, it'll make you feel sort of inferior, because that everything in advertising is, all the images of all the people in advertising are perfect. So look, if there's a TV ad break, just mute it. Just if you have to watch TV, then mute the ad breaks, because the advertising is actually quite harmful. You might think that's an exaggeration, but no, the effects that it has on people's psychology are understated. They really are. If you really understood how it works, you would realize that advertising really does mess with people's heads. Pornography. Pornography, I have written a whole blog about this. You can go and find it on. It messes with your dopamine reward system. It can be highly addictive, especially for teenage boys and men. And it's, people that watch pornography are less likely to have a happy relationship. There's nothing good about pornography. Trust me. Go and read the blog. I'm not going to go into detail now, but go and read the blog, and that's where you can find out everything, all the reasons why you shouldn't be watching pornography. Tabloids, well, this is entertainment. This is not news, and it's misleading, and I don't think I need to say anything more about tabloids. yeah, they'll leave you with an inaccurate view of the world, basically. Soap operas, well, some people say soap operas can be okay, but to be honest, the soap operas are built upon pointless drama, which is just forced drama. Then it's not like real. It's supposed to be about real people, but the amount of crazy drama they have every single episode is just silly. And so essentially it's, I don't, it can be a very stressful thing. To be honest, soap operas can be a very stressful thing to watch. I don't know why you want to really watch that after you finish your day at work. It's really just raises your stress levels. I don't think it has any major negative effects that I'm aware of, but again, it's a waste of time. MMORPGs, if you don't know what this is sort of World of Warcraft and League of Legends, I think. So I don't know League of Legends very well. Yes, there's all these sort of online worlds where you level up your character over time. If you play them, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. These are pretty toxic. These are filled with addictive mechanisms to keep you paying the subscription fee. Again, I wrote a whole blog about this, so you can go and read it on my website. These are a huge time sink. People spend. I'm not joking when I say people will actually spend entire years. Once you add up all the hours, people play 6-7 hours a day. Many people play 12 hours a day. People end up spending like an entire year or two of their lives actually on the game, and that's not an exaggeration. This is huge, addictive junk media, and you should just avoid it. And you might, I'm not going to go into that anymore. If you want to read more about it, go to the blog. Pop cinema is essentially just sort of mainstream Hollywood cinema, like maybe the Marvel movies, superhero movies, and the stuff that is sort of the mainstream in the Hollywood. You know what I'm talking about, the mainstream movies, the ones that are the blockbusters that are just made to try to create money. They're very safe, they don't take any risks, they always use sort of the same plot devices and the same sort of stuff. These are great if you're on an airplane and you need to kill time, but that's what they do, they're time killers. You probably won't remember them the day after you leave, and they won't teach you any life lessons or anything like that. So yeah, it's junk media, it's a waste of time. Next, sitcoms. Yeah, so, again, these can be funny sometimes. I do kind of like Friends and Frasier, but I'm aware as I'm watching them, this is a waste. First of all, like all the other ones, it's a waste of time. You could be doing many better things of your time than watching sitcoms. Now, there are some other negative effects of watching sitcoms. They can have the effect of making you feel inadequate in your life. Sitcoms, usually they have these great big apartments. In Friends, they have a huge apartment in New York City, and most of, none of the characters have high-paying jobs. Rachel's a waitress, and Joey is a freelance actor or whatnot, but they have these huge apartments, and it can give you sort of the wrong idea of how the world actually is, in that an apartment like that in New York City would cost a lot. It would cost tons of money. And the same again with Frasier. It's not on purpose, it's an accidental effect. They need the space to actually film the show, but it can mess with your head, and you think you're inadequate because you're living in a small apartment. And also, they have a lot of harmful tropes about romance and things like soulmates and the one, and things like this that can be really not good for your life. So that's why I've put the sitcoms in junk media. Do I need to explain game shows? I don't think I do. Pure waste of time. Pure waste of time. Like, there's practicing trivia. Let's say you wanted to watch. There are a few good game shows like University Challenge, but again, it's just trivia. It's not real wisdom or knowledge. It's just trivia. So don't waste your time watching, and especially other game shows like Tipping Point and the waste of time game shows that I'm talking about. Now, this one I've put most video games. Now, not all video games. I've played some fantastic video games that were well worth my time, and that even taught me lessons about life. And, you know, to name a few, Metal Gear Solid, Shadow of the Colossus, EPO, the Zelda games, Zelda 64, classic game. But most of the video games that are out are there to... most of them are a waste of time, if I'm being honest. The ones that have a story to them, that have a narrative like a film, they can be really interesting. But unless you're going to become maybe a professional gamer, you know, if you're really set on becoming a pro gamer, then sure, smash out the video, you know, playing Call of Duty or Halo or something, and really go for it. But if you're not going to do that, then get off the games. Like, it's a complete waste of your time, and it will come at the expense of other things in your life, other things that you could be doing. Because many of them are highly addictive as well. So you'll get sucked in, and you'll have nothing really to show for it at the end, apart from some points on your, you know, and your character in the game. This is going to take a long time, isn't it? Okay. Social media, highly addictive, massively, really bad for your mental health. The worst thing you can do on social media is stalk. As in, look at other people's profiles and not post anything yourself. Just spend time looking through people's profiles. There are many reasons for this. You see the best part of everybody's life, and it can give you it can mess with your self-esteem because you think everybody else is living a perfect life, blah, blah, blah. The only reason social media is not at the top of junk media is because if you're a business and you want to find customers, social media is fantastic. And, you know, there are some good uses for social media simply in the fact that it connects you to particular people. You can find good quality YouTube channels and maybe some role models that you want to follow. But, you know, general social media usage is junk. When it comes to social media, because it's highly addictive, you want to be very selective with how you actually use it. Very selective, and don't get sucked into the nonsense. TV news. Well, if you watch enough TV news, you will think the world is a horrible, dangerous place, and that there's danger around every corner. To give you an example, violent crime has been on the decrease in America, for instance, for many years, you know, forever. But every single year, when people are asked in a survey, they insist that violent crime is going up, and this is because of news media. The news is not an accurate representation of reality. It's just stories that will get your attention and stories that will build an audience so they can make money from the advertisers in the break. So TV news is many psychologists will suggest that their patients don't watch TV news if they have depression, because it's just very bad for your mental state. Next, online news. One word, clickbait. Online news is now built entirely around clickbait and traffic. The only goal of an online news article is to create as much traffic as possible to make money for the advertisers. Highly misleading articles, hit pieces. Most of online news is essentially trash. If you read a book by Ryan Holiday called Trust Me, I'm Lying. It's called Trust Me, I'm Lying by Ryan Holiday. You'll see how online news works and how, just read the book. Don't read online news. Seriously. It's terrible. Most of it. Magazines again. The goal of a magazine is to sell magazines, obviously. But again, it's the same as sort of online news, and no, it's not. It's the same as sort of tabloids in that most of the information in magazines is not very well thought through. They just want some light, fluffy things that doesn't really challenge people, so that they can sell magazines. People don't want to read a hard magazine. If you're buying a magazine, you're buying it just to relax, you know, and read it on the bus or something, because otherwise you'd be buying books. If you wanted proper reading, you would go and buy a book. I think there are some good magazines. I used to buy a magazine about audio and how to mix sound and stuff like that. So there are some good ones, but I would say in general they're mostly junk media with a few exceptions, and that's why it's not in the top the red section, because there are some good magazines out there. Mainstream radio, well, again, most mainstream radio is junk. In England, the radios have an A list and a B list of the songs that they have to play. You know that if you listen to the radio for an entire day, you will hear the same song at least 4 or 5 times. This is ridiculous. Don't do this to yourself. Why would you listen to the radio? And in between playing the same mainstream pop songs over and over, you get advertisements. Just annoying advertisements as well, usually. Sometimes they're funny, but there are a few good radio shows. There's a BBC Radio 4, and usually the smaller radio stations can be good, but the mainstream ones, the big ones in your country, they're pretty much junk. Mainstream pop songs followed by advertisements. Just don't do that to yourself. And we come on to most vlogs, or most vlogs. Most vlogs are, many of them are pretty young people that are sort of teenagers, and again, they want the views. They're trying to become an influencer, right? So they're not really going to go into much depth about anything. Most of the content in vlogs is sort of surface level stuff that it can be good if, vlogs can be good if you're just getting into a new subject. You want to learn, you want to become an actor, or you want to learn how to put makeup on or something like that, and they could be good. But a lot of the vlogs are very attention-seeking. They want to build an audience, and I'll give you one example of a good vlog. Elliot Hulse, a fitness vlogger and personal development vlogger. Fantastic content. He really goes very deep. This is really rare, though, to find. So now we're moving on to the middle yellow block. Now, in this block, we're starting to get into some stuff that is actually probably worth your time, potentially. Many of these things are very flawed, however, but it could be worth spending some of your time doing this stuff. Now we have newspapers. Now, the problem with newspapers is that they're a dying medium. These days, they're relying more and more on things like hit pieces and really just strong opinion pieces to sort of sell newspapers. Now, not all newspapers are created equally, but while it is kind of very nice to have a newspaper in your hand, many of them really not. Newspapers are not what they used to be. The amount of good journalism in the newspapers today, not quite as much as they are. But again, you can find a good quality newspaper. It's usually much better than online news, to be honest. If there are some good newspapers out there, but the problem with newspapers, they're really part of the mainstream media, and this is a problem because mainstream media does not show alternative points of view. All the discussion is in a sort of a narrow sector, if you will. And so this is the problem with newspapers, but they are okay, and that's why they're in the yellow column. And then we have blogs. Now, again, not all blogs are created equal. There's a lot of garbage out there, just people with their opinions and really things that they really haven't thought through. There's a lot of blogs out there as well, which are really just created to bring in traffic. They just use as many keywords as possible to rank high in the Google searches, and the content is not particularly good, and it's just been made by a content writer who's trying to bring in traffic for the blog. But again, not all blogs are created equal, and there's some very useful stuff out there. My blog is fantastic, obviously. I'm joking, it's alright. But there is some good stuff out there, so some blogs are worth your time, yeah. It depends on who's writing it and for what purpose, Last in the yellow column, we have sort of good TV series. Now, look, the reason these are not in the blue column below, TV series really are a huge time killer. you know how you can binge on Netflix and watch one episode after the other. It really does take a lot of your time when every episode is 45 minutes each. So really, if you're going to watch a TV series, make sure it really is something good. Don't just watch random TV series. This is a huge waste of time. You'll spend so many hours watching sort of mediocre stuff, and this is just silly. But if you've got something good like Breaking Bad or maybe Game of Thrones or something you really, really think is a good piece of art, then go ahead. And you can get something from a good TV show. You can learn from the characters and things like that. And maybe if you want to become an actor or become a writer, it's great to get inspiration from some good solid TV series. Right, now we're moving on to this sort of blue column down the bottom. Now this is stuff that is actually this is stuff you should probably be watching. It's not going in the green column at the bottom because some of these it's in the blue column because it's good, it's healthy. Watching too much of it can be a bit of a waste of time, but it certainly is worth having this stuff in your life for short periods of time every single week. I mean, music, for instance. I love music. Music is a great art form, and we're born to love music. So this is definitely worth, especially some good music that you like. It's good if you can branch out and move away from the mainstream pop and find different genres that you're actually interested in if you really want to get something out of music. But this is something you should be doing. Again, I find that sometimes I can sort of spam songs over and over again, and sometimes I'll listen to music to procrastinate as well, and it can be a bit distracting sometimes. But again, this is pretty healthy media. Documentaries. Documentaries can be great. There are many fantastic documentaries out there, and you'll finish watching the show knowing something that you didn't know before, something brand new. You have all this knowledge on an area that you would have never done otherwise. And maybe you're the kind of person that really doesn't like to read very much, and you go and watch a documentary instead, and it's just much easier to consume. Reading is a bit more of a active activity. With a documentary, you can passively sit back and you can just watch. So, these are something you can do. Again, some people do manage to binge watch documentaries, and there are some bad documentaries out there. But again, this is worth your time, I think. And then we have artistic cinema. What I mean by this is pretty much anything outside of the mainstream pop cinema that we have in the junk media red bracket at the top. Something you really find really something very artistic and very well created by somebody that cares about the film itself, and not a corporation that cares about creating money from sales. This is definitely worth your time. Good cinema can change your life, and they can really give you amazing lessons that no other sort of medium could do. So and then we have fiction. So this is a sort of reading novels and stuff. This is not quite as useful as non-fiction, but there's some great stories out there, some famous. I'm not really big into. Don't really read much fiction myself, but this is worth your time. Reading in general is very good. You'll build a bigger vocabulary, and it takes an active attention to read as well. So you actually have to. It builds your sort of willpower in terms of you can actually focus on reading a book for like an hour, which is something that many people can't actually do today because of the internet. Reading a novel is a good use of your time. In my opinion, non-fiction would be better, but fiction is pretty good too. Speaking of which, well, we're moving on to the green, the healthiest. This is stuff that I think is really great, and this is really helpful stuff that we're really lucky to have in our modern society. You should definitely be looking at these options at the green bracket. Starting with non-fiction. Look, if you're not reading books about the world, then what are you doing? If you're somebody that never reads any non-fiction books about anything, you're falling behind, because there's a saying that goes, "Leaders are readers." Books are the best way to get your information. It's as simple as that. It's not the internet. books. There's no distraction when it comes to a book. And in a non-fiction book, somebody has spent years of their life pouring out the best wisdom that they can offer and putting it on the page for you to read at a price of like $10. Or you can even download the ebook for free online if you know how to do that. This is well worth your time. You should definitely be reading non-fiction. Tutorial videos, again, you can learn anything on YouTube right now. You can learn pretty much anything. If you want to figure out how to fix your car, or to fix a bike, or to learn a musical instrument, this can all be done on YouTube. You don't, to be a musician, to start playing the piano, you don't really need a teacher anymore. All the teachers are showing you their lessons online. Sure, having an actual teacher would be better, but the next best thing is YouTube. You can learn whatever practical skill you like on YouTube, or some of the best tutorial stuff is actually paid, and you'll pay for a course or something. But again, give it 30 years ago and people never had this option. So this is quite amazing. And then we have podcasts, and intellectual podcasts. If you go, I think the Joe Rogan podcast has so many. If you don't know what the Joe Rogan podcast is, it's the biggest podcast in the world. Some of Elon Musk has been on there. Russell Brand, all kinds of famous people have been on the Joe Rogan podcast. This is well worth your time. And the good thing about podcasts is you can have them in the background while you're driving. If you're commuting to work every day for like 1 hour and you're not listening to podcasts, then what are you doing? Why would you just sit and stare at traffic? Or, even worse, why would you go and put on the radio? Don't listen to the radio, for God's sakes. Don't sit through advertisements. Turn that shit off and put on a podcast instead. You'll learn so much more, and it's just so much better. So then we got some discussion forums. So yeah, if you want to, if you're learning a skill of any kind, these days what you can do is you can hop on. There'll be forums, communities of people that for everything that you can imagine. So again, if you wanted to learn how to, become a car mechanic or something, what you can do is you can use the YouTube videos to learn it. You can hop on forums to ask other people that are trying to learn to become a car mechanic questions, and you can get feedback, and you can, you have a whole community of people there online. So this is really, really useful for your life. And that's it. That took quite a long time, but I hope that if you listen this far, I hope some of those thoughts were helpful to you. And yeah, that's it. So thanks for listening. See ya.